Welcome to the Meltdown. We're talking the business of sports with host Vince Thompson, the president, founder, and CEO of Melt, one of the leading sports marketing companies in the country.
Welcome back to this week's Meltdown. I'm Vince Thompson, founder, chairman, and CEO of Melt. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Vinny Inc. or LinkedIn, Vince Thompson, or YouTube. Subscribe to our channel at Vince Thompson. And let's dive into this week's Meltdown. Ratings are returning to college football. Not quite as high as they were last year, but the Alabama-Georgia game, directed and produced by my dear friend Craig Silver of CBS, had nearly 10 million viewers last week in primetime on CBS. I was there. I got to admit, it's still a really, really strange environment to be in a stadium with it's only 25% full and crowd noise being piped in. But I did feel a little bit more that Alabama had a little bit more of a home field advantage than the Georgia game and Auburn game I went to in Athens. So I think they're beginning to kind of fine-tune and tweak the fans being there, the safe social distancing, the light shows, the levels of the piped-in noise. But just for an analogy, in November of 2019, and Carter and I went to that as well, the LSU-Alabama game, which is one of the great games of all time, hit 16.7 million viewers. But as a comparison, the recent National League Championship Series, Hate It for Our Braves, had about the same amount of viewers. So the viewers are coming back to college football. They will continue to come back. We're going to talk about the Big Ten kicking off this weekend, but attracted, several million more viewers than the finals of the NBA championship. And there's a lot of debate going on about what's going on with the NBA right now. Is it a dilution of the product? Was the bubble, no fan noise? The civil and social messaging, too much programming. They've got to kind of sit down and weave it out. But it's probably a combination of factors, quite frankly. So got a lot going on in the ratings world this week. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how the college football audience continues to grow with the addition of the Big Ten and with the addition of the Pac-12, and you're going to get the CFP rankings coming in and the conference championships. But again, and we've talked about this many, many times, kudos to Commissioner Greg Sankey of the SEC, because he stayed the course. He held firm. He held his ground. And yeah, it's not pretty. There are hiccups. We all knew there were going to be hiccups. But, so far we got some college football going on. And it's been fascinating to see the round robin of the SEC and the level of talent they're having to respond to every week. And I think you're going to see some crazy outcomes. But as we said, the Big Ten is back. Friday night, home opener, Illinois at Wisconsin, 8-game round-robin schedule, no fans. Maybe that'll come into play in a little bit later. The SEC is showing that you can have safe and socially distanced football games. The ESPN camera angle and director of the Georgia-Auburn game, notwithstanding Ohio State, will they be in a top 4? How are these the rankings? Will they be more rested, more prep time, or not as much hitting and tackling and prep and warm-ups and softball? We're going to see. Again, this is still an interesting college season, but the great news is that we've got it going. The great news, the viewers are coming back. The great news is the sponsors are a lot happier. People are starting to come to the games. Obviously, hats off to Commissioner Warren for getting this over the goal line. They're going to recoup about 2/3 of their media revenue sharing from the networks, at least $36 million, probably well north of that. And so hopefully this is going to be a little bit of a salvation or a salve to the athletic department budgets as well. But it's just nice to have some college football on Saturdays. at least, and the television product is pretty amazing. Pac-12 begins November the 7th, a 7-game only schedule. Not a lot of ranked teams here, USC and Oregon, which is a little strange. Again, with pressure on Commissioner Scott, pressure on the Pac-12 network and their distribution, the late night games. Do we try to play some at 9 a.m. California time, noon? It's not a bad product. The Utes are great. So we're just going to kind of see what happens here. And again, I think you're probably going to see a lot of retrenching after this is over. Hopefully we'll get this back to normal, shall we say, in 2021, spring, March Madness, Final Four, and get re-engagement with the kids on campus. A lot of kids are not able to actually get tickets to go to these games, which I think is a shame. I think they should have been all given the first dibs on that. And then some of the students, if they could try to find tickets at the Alabama game, for instance, were $300 to $400 a piece. And so I just wish there was a way to really let the kids get in there first, because they'll never get those Saturdays in the fall back, being students at Georgia, Alabama, or wherever they are. So here we go. Rankings. The first rankings are out Tuesday, November the 17th. I think Clemson and Alabama are clear leaders in the clubhouse. We see Notre Dame carrying a lot of ratings within the ACC, and we see Notre Dame and Clemson carrying a lot of ratings. Is UGA number 4? Don't know. Ohio State hasn't played yet. OK State in a rattled Big 12 conference as well. But again, a lot of the bets are off because of the level of preparation, the uncertainty of the testing with the players. Are there false positives? You see what Nick Saban went through last week. Fortunately, he was allowed to coach. He got a little bit of a clapback or blowback from, I call them the Corona Bros, Karen Ravel and some of those guys, just bound and determined for some reason for us not to play. But we did play. You're going to see a level of talent. Who knows what the crazy outcome. But so far, so good. And college football is really carrying the day with the ratings and also the kind of the feel-good impact of all of us being shut in. The interesting thing about the attendance, and we're going to see where this goes in the future, is that there was already a lot of weakness and decline in college football attendance, and it's attributable to many reasons. One, in really no particular order, you never know when the games are going to start. So you really couldn't plan your weekend, whether the game was at a noon kick or a 3:30 kick or a 7 kick or an 8 kick. It's a 12-hour commitment if you go down to a campus. It's ingress and egress is very hard. Particularly if you have young children and young families, it's hard to take them. It's hard to do with the soccer matches. They may not can afford the tickets, but you can also buy an 80-inch television for $1,000 and sit in the comfort of your home, watch 25 games, some knuckleheads not standing up in front of you, drink your own beer, and those types of things. So we were already in and you see the retrofitting of the college football stadiums. I saw the Bryant-Denny edition. It was gorgeous. My prediction is athletic departments will get in the real estate and retail business far greater than they are now. I was looking at Bryant-Denny and all these beautiful homes and sorority houses and everything around it, but I'm like, how cool would it be to have a dorm room inside of Bryant-Denny? How cool would it be to be able to go to a brew pub in Bryant-Denny Stadium, Jordan Hare Stadium, Sanford Stadium, and really enjoy like I said, the Braves did a great thing where you could pay $10 and get a ticket and go sit in the stands in the infield and watch the big screen TV. I'm gonna be willing to wager that all of these athletic departments, in search of more revenue and money, in search of utilizing that real estate, the stadium, you're going to see some great innovations, I think, coming down the line that are going to be great for fans, and the students down the line, because a lot of people already buy homes, second homes and condos to go enjoy those games. And if you could have one, the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Atlanta Motor Speedway, they pioneered that concept a long time ago. And I think that would be really, 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 really neat. So look for that trend in the future. And it could be a lot of other great career opportunities as well. Who's on the bus, the hot seat? I mean, I hate it, but I'm afraid right now the wheels on the Gus bus may be falling off. Maybe Bo Nix is not hyped. But as I said, kind of all bets are sort of off this year. But I've seen Auburn play in person. I've seen him on television, and I just don't know if the effort's there. I don't know. Something's missing. Now, obviously, Gus has got this monster buyout. It's down to $20 million, which I think buyouts for coaches are the most ridiculous thing in college athletics. I think they'll go away with the finances under strain and under burden. But we'll see what happens with Gus. I'm not sure that all these coaches may get a pass this year based on budget constraints, financial constraints, and just the weirdness of the season being out of sync. But if there were a couple of hot seats in the SEC, I would tell you that it would probably be Derek Mason at Vandy. That's a different situation. And then there's no reason not to win at Auburn. The facilities are just absolutely world class. The NBA, to their credit, the bubble did not burst. Now, they lost nearly 40 to 50% of the revenue of people not going to the games and not buying the merch and not buying the Coca-Cola and the beer and everything, the parking and the tickets and all of that. But to their credit, I mean, the bubble was a brilliant idea. So you got to understand how this kind of all works. Disney obviously owned Disney. And Disney owns ABC and ESPN, which were televising a lot of the games. So that the $150 million that the NBA invested in the bubble at Disney was revenue that Disney was losing because people aren't going to Disney World. They also would have lost tens of millions of dollars in ad revenue on the ABC and ESPN channels. And despite the viewership being down, they didn't miss tens of millions of revenue. So they're probably gonna legitimately COVID did impact their business. Now we're going to kind of see, Silver's a great guy. He's a great leader, innovative. We will see what happens to the NBA season in 21 and 22 because they're kind of, right now, not quite sure if they're going to be able to play or not. My bet is they probably will try to play it in their arenas, but we'll see. And obviously revenue lost is, across the board. It's driven by the attendance, the tickets, fewer sponsors, but the ad dollars obviously are probably 70 to 80% of all the monies that go into the pro leagues, and those monies have been salvaged based on the innovation of how they're doing the television broadcast. So a lot going on. We will continue to evolve. We're going to have a special guest coming up in a few weeks. Allison Fillmore is going to talk about a fanless Masters. We're going to have Eric Jackson of the Atlanta Business Chronicle talking about the top 25 most influential sports business leaders in Atlanta. We'll probably have Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart back, packed, chock full of things. And don't forget, it's coming soon, Bill Brand New. Pre-order on Amazon.com today. We're getting tons of traction, a lot of great feedback, talking to a lot of your great students there. So I'm Vince Thompson, founder, CEO, chairman of Melt, and that's it for this week's Meltdown.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MELTATL, and follow Vince at Vinny Inc. and on LinkedIn as Vince Thompson.